Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Well, it has been 60 days since the December 30th search warrant was sealed, and so right on schedule it's been unsealed. In the O.J. Simpson case, a size 12 Bruno Magli shoe print was left behind at the crime scene. And when OJ was confronted, he said, there's no way I would wear ugly ass shoes like that. But anyway, a size 12, which is a pretty big size, a shoe print was left in blood. In the Idaho case, there may be a size 13 Vans shoe print in a sort of a diamond shape off the sole, or possibly even a Nike shoe print involved. I do think it's interesting that so much of the clothing seized by law enforcement is black. No less than 4 individual items of black clothing, 5 if we include the black and white Nike shoes. And obviously we know, based on Dee's statement, that the person that she saw walking when she was standing at the front door was dressed in all black and also wearing a mask. So it stands to reason that law enforcement would want to get hold of all of Brian Kohberger's black clothing, black shirts, socks, and so on. Before we get to the rest of this episode, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Like, share, leave a comment, and let's get started. So let's have a look at this. United States Department of Justice, and it is dated the 30th of December, and then it refers to items seized. And this is from his parents' home in Albrightsville, right? The first item is a Defiant silver flashlight. That's also something that he may have taken into the crime scene. The second of 9 items are 4 medical style gloves, and we obviously know that he was running around sort of around Christmas with these gloves on. He was very aware, apparently, that his DNA or it seems that he was very aware that he didn't want to leave DNA traces, including getting rid of garbage. Number 3, white Arizona, I think that's jean, and large T-shirt. Am I reading that right? White Arizona jean and a large T-shirt. Then number 4, Champion WSH Cougar large black sweatshirt. So that would be some of the sort of official colors of Washington State University. Then number 5, this is the one that really stands out. A pair of black and white size 13 Nike shoes. And one does wonder whether they were able to seize any other shoes. Number 6, a pair of black Under Armour socks. And so what they would want to do is take those socks and do extensive tests on those socks. Even if they've been washed, it's possible that there might be some residual DNA on them, besides Kohberger's DNA. Then number 7, Under Armour black large shorts. Number 8, Under Armour black boxer large. And if you think about it, how likely is it that he would have worn those that sort of clothing on a cold night? I don't know if he would have worn large black shorts, but he probably would have worn underwear and probably would have worn socks, right? And they've only managed to secure 1 large black sweatshirt. And so one does wonder, it seems doubtful that he would wear a WSU sweatshirt to the scene of the crime, but who knows? Maybe he wasn't in a proper state of mind, or maybe he wasn't in the right state of mind. The other thing is, it appears that he was driving around quite a lot, and it's possible, this is while he was in Pennsylvania, and it's possible that a lot of that driving around was disposing of things here, there, and everywhere. The final item number 9, is 1 buccal swab, and they ended up taking four separate samples. And although it stood to reason that they would take a DNA sample, and I suspected that they did, it was a little bit difficult to try and predict, would this be done in a search warrant situation or once he was in custody? How would they actually do that? So it is fascinating that we have confirmation that they have also had a warrant to take a DNA sample via the buccal swab. That's item number 9. This would also have been useful to make absolutely sure whether the DNA sample from the scene was 100% matched to the suspect or not. Naturally, at this point, we don't know what sort of quality we're talking about in terms of the DNA left on the knife sheath snap. Is it a partial sample or a complete sample, a complete profile? The size 13 shoe tells us Koberger may have some explaining to do besides the DNA. If a shoe print matching his shoe size was left at the scene, one wonders whether the shoes themselves were recovered, and if so, what they found on the shoes or any of the other clothing, on that sort of honeycomb area of the sole. Again, if the animal hair found at his apartment turns out to be Murphy's, won't it be game, set, and match to the prosecution? Now, I'm not going to take it further than that, but I think it is worth thinking about the Murdoch case. And I've heard a lot of people, or I've heard a couple of people saying that there's absolutely no way that they proved, like there's no smoking gun evidence that Murdoch committed this crime. There's like no direct evidence. And I think what one's got to emphasize, because I get the feeling some people still don't understand this aspect. You know, the burden of proof for the prosecution isn't to show or to find a video of a person committing a crime, right? That's an absurd burden of proof. The best that they can do is provide a mosaic of circumstantial evidence. In the Koberger case, it is a DNA profile, possibly it looks like, a shoe print, possibly it looks like, his movements around the scene on the night of the incident, but also prior to that. And then also items probably found or possibly found at his apartment. These may include animal hairs, but could also include blood evidence and DNA partial matches or matches. Now, I think the other thing to bear in mind is if you in the jury, and this make it a lot more complicated, if you're in the jury or you are thinking about both sides, the defense case and the prosecution case, bear in mind that perpetrators cover their tracks and destroy evidence. So if you're sitting in the jury and you're saying, okay, make the case 100% that this person committed the crime. Well, the reality is it's in court because it's not absolutely certain. It's probable. And so there is a certain level of certainty, but obviously when someone destroys evidence, then you are going to have missing links. You are going to have areas of uncertainty. And I think you've got to not be stupid about it and say, okay, you don't actually have a gun where smoke is coming out of it, not guilty, because of reasonable doubt. That's not reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt is if the quality of the evidence is really poor, if the circumstantial evidence is dodgy or debatable. Does that make sense? So it's quite difficult to say what beyond reasonable doubt actually means. Maybe questionnaires should be given out to jurors to say, this is an example of that, right? But I have heard some people talking about the Murdoch case seeming to think that you need some absolutely 100% direct evidence. You're never going to have it in a case like this, right? And so you really want to take the whole mosaic together and say, does that add up to something that looks very, very, very likely or not? And so do you think that is going to happen in the Koberger case? Or are people going to feel sorry for Koberger in a similar way that they seem to be feeling sorry for Murdoch? So I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the case against Brian Koberger is is strong, medium, or weak? Let's hear it, and then you can say the same thing for the Murdoch case if you've been watching it. Is the case against Murdoch strong, medium, or weak? Bear in mind, Murdoch's got some of the best lawyers in the land, and Koberger doesn't really have that kind of firepower. He's got a good lawyer, but certainly not one of the best in the country. Not one of the best, lawyers for hire in the country. Anyway, leave a comment. Let's hear what you guys think. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.